Hello and welcome. I'm Greg.
I'm John. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome indeed. You're watching Ausby Drone Live. We have an awesome show today. A little bit later, we're going to be interviewing YouTube megastar Chris Gebhardt from the YouTube channel G-Toga or GTOga, depending on how you want to pronounce that. We're going to open the mailbag. We'll play Stump the Yank. We're going to give away one more No Limit Drones license. And today we're going to bring you an exclusive investigation into the war on drones in Australia. But first, John, what's happening for you this week?
Big week this week. I'm looking forward to it. Monday on the plane, 6 a.m. down to Melbourne. We're going to the AAUS conference, and it's part of the big Avalon Air Show, of course. So the Australian Association of Unmanned Systems run a great conference down there. So we're going to be in the Melbourne City for a day. Then we'll have a conference dinner, and then we head out to Avalon for the first trade day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, all trade days. Huge exhibition of unmanned aerial systems and modern technology, everything right down from the tiniest micro beetle drones these days right up to the full thing at, massive predator drones, lots of military stuff. So Tom and I are heading down Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be great fun. That's what our week's all about.
Yeah, lots of fun for anyone involved in aviation and drones. Speaking of which, next weekend, we're going to be interviewing members of the Australian Army we've had some guys on before, but we're going to have their boss, and we're going to be having a good talk about what they're doing in drone racing in the Army. Just a reminder for everyone who's here at the moment, this is a drone-related channel, but later on we will have a guest who is a non-drone guy, but he's indirectly connected, and I'll explain that a little bit later. We're going to get into our normal segment now, the news, and as always, thanks to Jeff Sills and Greg Hilton for helping out with the information that we have in the news. Just a quick side comment today. We don't have some of our fancy graphics working today. Some software was upgraded this week and a few problems with the graphics and the titles. So we're going to do Ausby. Yeah, hold the paper up.
Hold them up. Hold them up. Here we go. That's the way to do it.
Okay.
I'll give you the list.
So our first story today, Sydney Trains, OCP Architects and Airside Australia recently collaborated on a project to fully map and inspect the outside facade of Central Station in Sydney. The team used a combination of drones to capture over 25,000 images and delivered a set of seamless 3D models for each facade.
Sydney Trains and OCP Architects approached us to put together a proposal on whether we could use our drone technologies and other spatial technologies to produce an accurate and detailed photographic record of Central Station.
My name's Otto Shahami. I'm a conservation architect. The railway station is over 100 years old. It's the pinnacle of New South Wales heritage. The task at the moment is to conserve the buildings. It should become the beacon of the best sort of conservation in New South Wales.
The use of a drone will be a major step forward to be able to capture what's there now and then to add to it in later years.
In the past, the way we've had to do this sort of work, we had to do it photographed from the ground, or we had to climb over the tops of roofs, and they were quite often extremely unsafe.
So we're using different types and sizes of multi-rotor drones to carry out the inspections on the facade.
So I won't play the entire video. I'll just fade the audio and leave that there in the background. So ultimately, another example of the use of drone technology to do 3D mapping, which you and I have talked about many times, John. But I think what's really cool, I think, is the linkage between 3D mapping, drone technology, and conservation of an old building like this. I think you did one before, a tower, John?
Yeah, we did. We did the clock tower as part of the Lands building, and that had a large spire as well, and exactly the same thing to catalogue, if you like, the condition of the building. And we've also done a large church in Melbourne, which was the St Paul's Cathedral in the middle of Melbourne. They're challenges. They're quite tough jobs because of the managing, if you like, working inside the CBD got to close streets and all that sort of stuff. But here, obviously, they had Sydney Trains on board, and they managed it. Looked like they're using an Inspire 2, doing a good job of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So some really good news there. Moving on to our second story for today, an Adelaide pilot takes workplace venting to all new heights by etching "I'm bored" into the sky. It is believed the pilot, who was working out of the Parafield Airport north of Adelaide, was running in a new engine. The pilot flew several loops, creating some somewhat unusual graffiti along the coast before tracing "I'm bored" over the Princes Highway. The Civil Aviation Authority says it is uncommon but not unheard of. Now, I'm not going to go into any more detail, but it is definitely some very creative squiggles there in the air map there.
Look, it's a great. We've seen this before, though. Of course, you can spoof that information onto the website, and I'm not saying this was one of those, but we've seen some other ones, perhaps a little more graphic, using pictures to show naughty pictures.
You weren't looking closely enough, John. There was something naughty there.
Oh, there was something naughty there. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I was reading it, but of course you can do it. And ever since we saw the first one spoofed out onto the Flight Radar 24, pilots have been sitting around in the armchair at night wondering, okay, how can we do this? Let's actually go out and fly it, because it's very, very achievable with a GPS. And it's a modern skywriting. What a great idea. It sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm bored. I don't know. That's really not going to work.
Well, like I said, he was reportedly running it in.
Yeah, he was running in. He's running the engine in.
Yeah.
Anyway, great job.
We got two more stories. First of all, the EHang 184 was first displayed at CES back in 2016. This is a passenger vehicle. Things are moving along with the company announcing that they have been authorized as China's first pilot company to develop passenger drone programs. The Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, or it's a bit of a CAC for short. Sorry, I had to throw that in. The CAC has advised that it expects to have UAV airworthiness management system released by the end of 2019. CAC have advised that as long as UAV companies establish a qualified airworthiness system and its UAV products have met those standards, CAC will issue airworthiness certificates. So some really good news of a way forward from a regulatory perspective for passenger drones.
Absolutely. And I mean, the good thing is that these things have been flying now for a while on their own, of course. And we use the term UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, but here we go. We're about to cross over into manned aerial vehicles or multicopters.
At the end of the day, it's just an aircraft that happens to have a different propulsion system.
Oh, the cargo, either it's got cargo in it or not. I mean, it really is just exactly the existing technology that we have. I've got to say again, the X8 is a fantastic platform in terms of reliability, in terms of failure rates and so forth. Having the X8 is pretty good. Ballistic parachutes, all sorts of great things that they have in modern ultralight aircraft can be incorporated into it. I'm sure that, it's a pretty good beast. And as I say, it really just is cargo. Where they're looking at here is having a payload, a human payload, as opposed to a non-human payload, a non-live payload, and that the multi-rotor doesn't know what's in it. Could be a bag of sand, could be a person. It doesn't care.
Yeah, absolutely. As we move into our final news story for the day, I'm actually going to open up our guest's microphone at this point. We won't introduce him yet, just in case he's got any commentary on some of this information. So we'll go do shot E2. So let's get started. So we move into our feature story for today, the war on drones. In the United Kingdom, the government is preparing to issue new legislation which will give police power to stop and search drone pilots near airports. And in the USA, the FAA is suggesting that drone identification cannot be in a battery compartment in case there is a bomb inside the drone when an investigator is looking for registration details. Of course, we know that all terrorists will put 100% legitimate information in their drones, so that's a really good, helpful measure.
That's right. Yeah, you can count on that. Yeah, I would. I'd declare that. I mean, again, a bit of catch up here. Of course, we're scrambling for ideas that have long since bolted.
Yeah.
And you know, I think really that in terms of making powers, the police always would have powers to question and arrest someone if they're doing something illegal. But I suppose there's a lot of this is media stuff too. You know,
But this is now stop and search just for holding an RC controller. But anyway, that's the UK. But let's quickly move on. Here's the interesting bit. So this is everyone saying drones are bad, but in Australia, in the town of Tennant in the Australian Capital Territory, just out of Canberra, some locals have taken the war on drones to a new level. It was reported that a commercial drone was shot down. When I first heard about this story, I first double-checked to see if the story happened into Australia. I mean, shooting downs out of the sky is something we normally see out of those Texans, Chris.
Here in Texas, the day that you're born, you're issued a birth certificate. They stamp your feet and they give you a shotgun. So,
yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
But on the screen here right now in Australia, to my surprise, this particular location, I found out there's been more than one drone shooting this year in the land down under. This one happened in New South Wales, and I contacted New South Wales police media about the first shooting, and they provided the following response. At about 10:30 a.m. on Thursday, 10th of January, a real estate agent attended a property on Dixon's Road in Burrell Creek to take aerial footage with a drone. It is alleged that the occupant of the property used a firearm to shoot the drone. 46-year-old man was arrested and taken to Taree Police Station, where he was charged with 8 firearms and other unrelated offences. New South Wales Police media have confirmed that the man was remanded into custody and he will reappear at Forster Local Court on the 5th of March. Now, while it's good that this man was taken into custody, he is only answering to firearms and drug-related offences. No charges have been laid relating to interfering with the safety of an aircraft. John?
We need to test. Well, here it is. It needs a test case. We've got the other side of the fence here, where our industry wants people to, we want to get into court so that people could understand that an aircraft, a UAV, whether it's manned or unmanned, is not something you can shoot from the sky. It's federal law. You can't fire lasers at a passenger aeroplane. It's illegal to do that. And it's illegal to fire a laser at an unmanned aerial vehicle or interfere with it in any other way. So it's just federal law. So we wanted to go to court and test it. And the same, on the other token, we've got a company now that we're working with, a security company that's tracking pilots next to the airport flying. They've got a guy now who they've identified using the aeroscope system, and they're getting ready to see whether he's going to deny it or they're going to go to court. I mean, Castor would like to go to court because they don't have powers at the moment, like like the UK. So what they need to do is say, well, if we need to stop people doing the wrong thing, we need more power and to legislate against it. But at the same time, in our world, the legislation is there. You can't shoot down a drone. You can't do it. And you should do it. People are going to, this for sure. I imagine the incidents in America are quite widespread, I would imagine, just because
I have seen an Inspire 2 shot down. I have seen an Inspire 2 shot down in America, and it was pretty spectacular. But we'll come back to that. Just on this story, though, so about the current event, I also contacted ACT Policing to find out what happened with the recent incident. The official police media statement from ACT Policing reads as follows. At about 2:15 p.m. on Thursday, 14th of February 2019, ACT Policing responded to reports of a commercial drone being shot down in Tennant, ACT. Investigations into this matter remain ongoing. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. For those people in the US who may not know, Crime Stoppers is the non-emergency place where you can report information either anonymously or not. But unlike the New South Wales event, no one has been charged at this time, and Google Maps show only 4 properties on the street in question. We're having a look at some photographs of the area now. 1 week after this incident, the official statement is still that investigations are ongoing.
Yeah, a couple of things to think about, because we don't know yet, and here's another thing, if this was a power company or related to a power company doing power line inspection, with a LiDAR aircraft, I heard, which was, worth $500,000.
That was what I was about to come to. The report in the Canberra Times states that the drone is a LiDAR-equipped commercial drone that was engaged in aerial survey work for Evo Energy. The report further claims that the drone is worth $500,000. I contacted Evo Energy, who initially advised that it was not their equipment. They subsequently advised in writing that we are unable to provide any further comment as this is a police matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can speculate, and just in looking at the situation that's here, if they were flying BVLOS, and if they were flying BVLOS doing power line inspections and they necessarily weren't keeping an eye on things, then there'd be a reason why the operator wouldn't want to necessarily take it any further. But we'd have to see that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you just don't know.
What I do know, just on that topic, John, I did have a look at the Evo Energy website. They specifically talk about their safety procedures, and they do make very, very specific reference to BVLOS. They very clearly call it out. Now, we don't know what was there, but from what we hear, there is another company, and I think I know who it is, but they've refused to comment at this point in time, so I don't want to name them without confirmation. But, another company who does commercial drone work of this type, and no one is owning up to saying it's my drone, but it's $500,000 worth.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that, and you'd have to think about it. I mean, these are big contracts. The airplane, might have been worth $500,000, but when you're talking to power companies about doing, weeks and months, or yearly contracts of inspecting power lines, where traditionally, remember, helicopters have been doing it.
Which used to cost a lot more money. Absolutely.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I just saw some cost reports on that, and it's actually not much cheaper as we thought. You think a helicopter would be much cheaper. Guess what they're saying is the most important thing is that the drones do a better job. They can get closer images. They have more accurate, because the helicopter's just not able to get the same accuracy. So the drones, yes, certainly beat the helicopter hands down. Interesting how, Robinson R22, you got two guys, you got two wages anyway, but the cost of operating a $500,000 UAV, the helicopter's only worth that much money, probably less. You could probably buy a Robinson R22 to do that job for $300,000. Yeah, and operate it for not much more. So but the point is, the drone is cheaper, but it does a better job.
Just a quick comment, reading from Mark's Droneworks. Hold on to that thought. CASA will follow FAA and the UK on a lot of on-the-go enforcements. I thought so too. So with the aircraft of this value being shot down out of the sky, I contacted CASA for comment. The media liaison representative advised as follows. In a case where a potential criminal act occurred, the relevant police have the lead in an investigation. CASA may assist. In other words, nothing to see here. They're not investigating at this point. They're not doing anything.
And neither's the ATSB. I know you contacted them, Greg.
Absolutely. On the topic of this purpose, I asked CASA specifically about mandatory reporting to the ATSB, and they said it is mandatory for a licensed commercial drone operator to report this type of event to the ATSB. For those in the US, this is the same as the NTSB, your National Transport Safety Board. I then contacted the ATSB for comment, and their official media statement is as follows. As stipulated by Transport Safety Investigation Act 2003, the ATSB's function is to improve transport safety. The incident involving a commercial drone near Canberra earlier this month was reported to the ATSB. However, the ATSB will not be conducting an investigation, as after assessing available information, it was deemed an investigation would not be of value to improving transport safety. What really alarms me here is the lack of response in the aviation sector. We live in a world where aviation regulators and safety organisations will investigate a plastic bag in the air that someone thinks is a drone, but shoot one out of the sky, and it's left up to Constable Plod from the local police. What scares me even more, drones are just another aircraft. Federal Federal aviation legislation, details multiple offences relating to interfering with the safety of an aircraft. But if it's a drone, no, nothing to see here. No charges under those laws before the courts.
Well, be clear, the interfering with the aircraft, if now they haven't got the drone, they've got to use a helicopter again, and the same shooter decides to shoot the helicopter out of the sky, they're breaking the same law. They're breaking the same law. Mind you, their actions could cause fatality and actual bodily harm. But don't you think that might change the approach by the ATSB and CASA a little bit?
Yeah, but don't forget the story we looked at before. We were looking at the EHang, right? So a drone can be a passenger vehicle, but it's okay to shoot drones out of the sky, and there's no safety matter to be investigated.
No, look, we've got a long way to go. Here's the thing. It's just not going to happen overnight, and you're going to always have so much of the public are going to be thinking there, I'm going to get my gun. If I see one, I want to shoot one out of the sky, particularly if I can get away with it. That's the problem. We need to actually advertise now that this is illegal and put it out there so that people don't do it. But it's going to happen. It's going to take a serious incident. I thought that would be serious enough. In Australian Capital Territory, it was a reported expensive aircraft. So who knows? Yeah.
So that's all the news for today. A bit later on the show, we'll open up on the chat to see what you all think about this. But now it's time for our guest, the one and only Computer Geek YouTube superstar and silver play button recipient and lover of tow trucks, Chris Gebhardt.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me here.
Hey, Chris.
Welcome, Chris. We don't have the fancy titles today. Apologies. The graphics are on holidays.
We'll pretend something is right down here.
Yeah, it's there. It's there in our dreams. But anyway, Chris, you're in a location looks very impressive there. This is your normal location of operations?
Absolutely. This is GT Ogre Production Studio 7C. It's in the eastern wing of GT Ogre headquarters here in Dallas. No, I'm going.
Love it.
This is my church production facility, and they've been nice enough to allow me to use the Wi-Fi and hang out here for a little bit.
Okay,
cool.
Okay, but it looks really cool. So Chris, you've got a channel that is on YouTube. You've got a large number of viewers. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a chat about some video. We might put some of that on in the background just as we start our chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So basically the whole point of the channel has turned into tow truck. And people park in the parking lot here at my place of business. They completely ignore all the parking.
We're getting some bad audio from you today, Chris.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's. I'll try and explain while you have a little play with your buttons and dials. But essentially,
sure. Yeah, I might have to mute that audio
Yeah.
there.
Essentially, Chris is he has a company, and out the back they've got a car lot. And what you're watching at the moment is just some normal security cameras and interesting events from the back of his back lot. When did this first start, Chris?
This has been going on for a good 10 years.
Okay. And
I'm not sure if you're getting my audio here or not.
It's working. I might go and get up and try twiddling some knobs. So if you and John want to continue chatting about the topic in the video, I'll get back in a sec.
That's a beautiful noise right there. So basically, what's going on is there are signs out in the back parking lot that tell people not to park there if they're unauthorized. And unfortunately, they don't seem to pay a lot of attention. Now, stuff that's going on right here, that tends to be more of sort of the random slice of life things that you get in the big city of Dallas.
Okay. So we're watching one of your videos, and this one is a good example because it's got a little bit of everything. We see the initial vehicle being left out the front, and the the person going away. Here we've got some other side stories about a scooter that they've got in Dallas where you can use scooters with iPhones and all sorts of other fun stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
So
ultimately,
then, right after, any of my viewers, and hello Drumbeat Nation, any of my viewers who happen to know what's coming next, and that's what everybody refers to as hashtag drumbeats.
yeah, I'm just waiting for it now.
It's coming. Right there.
So I'm just turning up the audio from the video. This particular theme song is now dedicated to Chris, just about, and no one else. Everyone knows this song. It's when someone's going to come and tow the vehicle away. And these videos are just so addictive. You're waiting for, you know, there's other videos that I've seen on the net. You're waiting for, will it happen? Won't it happen? Will they get away? It's that kind of hook that makes it very addictive.
Yeah, I think it's been strangely effective. You know, I certainly didn't ever set out to say, yeah, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I wonder what kind of content I'll put on there. Oh, I know. How about some tow trucks? That's kind of the last thing that would have come to mind for me.
Yeah.
But it seems to have captured some hearts and minds, and so long as people keep parking where they shouldn't, the tow trucks can keep coming, and I'll continue making videos.
Yeah. I mean, certainly in the drone world, the equivalent of that is people who sometimes fly them out as far as they can, and everyone wants to see, can they get back? That's a lot of people have looked at those, and I've seen other people making videos about mouse traps, and, you know, they set the mouse trap. Will the mouse get, you know, lots of interesting, totally weird and unusual things that people are throwing on YouTube. But just to share with everyone who's watching, the reason for the connection with Chris. So I have some servers in Chris's data center, and on those servers are, for example, the drone news wiki. So that's how I came to know Chris, through the IT kind of side of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as we watch the end here, we've got the last part of the traditional video. This particular one had some Star Trek references to shields up, shields down, and, you know, that's where this guy's putting his hoodie up and down. Great sense of humor in there, but there's always kind of the sad story at the end of those videos.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a theme that we carry through pretty much every video. It's an upbeat music to start with when the person is going to park. Maybe there's some B story that goes on, and that's typically going to be some upbeat music. Then it's time for the tow truck. That's drum beats. And then after the tow truck, it's typically the person who got towed. Their car's missing. They come back and they're looking around for their car. They find no car, and of course, there's sad music that has to play.
Yeah. I actually like one of the sad music. I think it was called Sarah's theme or Sarah's theme or something like that. I've used it in one of mine. It was a nice song. Good one.
You better be careful, because if you use the music that's become known for the tow trucks, actually people will email me or they'll post me messages on YouTube and say, I heard somebody using your music.
It's YouTube library. It's all good.
Yeah, confession time. It's not my music. It belongs to everybody who creates something on YouTube.
So how many subscribers are you up to now?
I think we're right around 170,000 last time I looked.
And I'm sitting at 1,000 and something. Oh, well.
You know, we all have to start someplace.
Yeah, look, I'm having fun doing this. I don't do this to, you know, and I think you would make the same comment. You didn't start out trying to be a YouTube megastar. You just put some stuff up and you had fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube famous was the last thing that I had in mind. I was just putting up some videos, really so my friends, my buddies, family who lives out of state could see some of the crazy goings on in the back lot, and I made those videos public, and other people started sharing them around. So it kind of came very unexpectedly. I still have a day job, I very much intended to keep my day job. But yeah, the YouTube thing really took off in a way that I did not expect.
Yeah. So to the people in the chat room at the moment, we're going to have a look at your chat questions in a little bit. And before we do that, we're going to have a quick little segment so we can just watch some video, have a little break. And then Chris and I, we're going to come back and have Stump the Yank. So
Sure.
For those who are not regulars on my channel, it's a little bit of a quiz question where we normally ask something like Australian slang of an American visitor or guest. And today we got something a bit unusual. But before we do that, let's have a look at this week's FPV Corner. Chris, it was awesome to talk to you. So
Great.
Stick around and we'll chat some more shortly.
You bet. Glad to be here.
So today's video is from one of our regulars and another YouTuber, Malice Vex.
I dig the music.
Yeah, you're hearing it for the first time. We've got a new version of Wirecast and John can actually hear it, but this music suits the FPV stuff so well. Again, thanks Greg Hilton for compiling all of this each and every week. So for this particular video footage, Malice Vex, he was going to Gilgandra to visit some friends. And he says he did some packs while he was there. Hope you enjoy and thank you for watching. And the title of this video is Outback FPV Adventures, episode 21. Malice definitely gets around and does some great videos. And that's, if this is episode 21, you can see that there's a lot more footage out there. If you have a look in the description for the video, you can go to his channel and check it out. But while that's playing out, so Chris, this is a little bit of Australian outback.
I love it.
Yeah, we're in a beautiful country, mate. Best part of the world, and you've got to definitely come
I know
down
all
under.
about the Australian outback. We get really good steaks there.
Okay.
Okay, if you're in the States, you know. Oh, this is great. Wish I'd taken my Dramamine before we knew we were coming.
Yeah. So while this is playing out, I'll just share with you what's going to happen next. So last week we gave away some No Limit Drones licenses. We've got one more to give away this week. And to make it a little bit more interesting, this week's giveaway is linked to our mailbag this week. So I got some mail this week from one of our viewers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But also, just a reminder, everyone who's watching, I want you to have an opportunity to ask questions in the chat. And before Chris leaves, today we'll have a look at those questions. You can also ask questions and chat about the drone shooting incident or anything else that interests you. So what is it we're talking about today? We've got this quiz, this thing for what? Oh, hang on. What's my wife, my producer's making hand gestures to me. I have no idea what she's doing. But the thing's gone red, so you need to press that button. You're not following. Press the button. There we go. Come on, that's the one. Focus, focus. Okay, anyway, moving on. I received a letter from Chris Hope this week, and your quiz question relates to his mail that he sent to me. And Chris wrote, "Hello, Greg. I found these at a garage sale. First thing that came to mind was you. Enjoy, Chris." And packaged very tightly in the envelope that he gave me was 4 coins. These are actually 4 pre-decimal coins from Australia. Now, as I said, your question relates to this mail. So, at this point, there's one more button that my producer needs to press. Your question relates to this mail. So,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stump the Yank.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stump the Yank. Now, we don't have the graphics on the screen. We're just going to leave that video playing for a little bit longer. Today's quiz question for our viewers also is related to this. And if they can answer the question before you, Chris, and be the first to answer correctly, they will win the final license for No Limit Drones. So
I'm feeling a lot of pressure here.
So please don't enter the competition if you don't own a DJI drone product. So if our viewers don't answer before you, we're going to try again next week to give away the license. But if they answer before you, Chris, they win the license. So I've got 4 pre-decimal coins here. I'm going to hold them up. Not that it's really needed or not going to help. These coins, as I said, were from Chris Hope. There's a small one. And this one is a copper coin. Right. That is the only copper coin in the pack. The other 3 coins are silver. Now, the question that I'm asking you, Chris, Australian pre-decimal currency, what is the common name for the next 3 silver-coloured coins in increasing value in the Australian pre-decimal system? Okay.
Right.
That's hard. I don't even know that.
All right.
I did.
I'm going deep here in my in the wealth of Australian knowledge that I have. I'm going to say it's the Outback, it's the Foster's Lager, and it's the Shrimp on a Barbie. Did I get it?
It's so close.
Oh,
So close.
Not quite. Not
I knew
quite.
I was,
I just got a message in the chat that we're buffering a bit. We're still live, ? So that's not the answer. No shrimp on a Barbie involved with our coins. I'll give you a hint. The first one was a penny.
Sure. Okay. Do we have a nickel and a dime?
No nickels and dimes.
They're the different ones, aren't they?
Yeah, those are your American currency over there.
Hell,
We have a shilling, Greg. We have a shilling, don't we?
There's a shilling as one of them.
Yeah, a shilling's one.
So it's not going to be a pfennig. It's not going to be a mark.
And Thunderbird 6, you have won the competition. You will get a license to No Limit Drones. Chris, sorry. If I had one of those sound effects, wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, I'll get you a sad trombone.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere, but not today. So anyway, thank you, Chris. Thank you for sticking around and playing our little bit of fun. It was cool. And
my pleasure.
yeah, look, it was fun. Everyone, please do go to Chris's channel. Go to the GT Ogre channel. Let's see if we've got any questions over here. By the way, someone, Lloyd Mendenhall, is saying tuppence. Tuppence is incorrect. That one's a bronze coin. So tuppence is not included. I said 3 silver-coloured ones. Anyway, any questions for Chris or for us about the topic that we've talked about today? His channel?
You know, the number one question that I probably get is how much money do I make from the tow trucks? And people are always fascinated to learn that the tow trucks don't pay us a shilling.
Okay, so you get nothing out of that. They're just servicing you to keep your lot clear. And the reason why, and I know this as a customer, if you've got computers in a data center room and something happens, you need to get stuff in and out quickly.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you might have thousands or tens of thousands of people complaining about services being down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you were a customer and you were trying to get into the facility to fix something that was critical, and you roll up and you find there's not a place to park, you're going to be awfully upset at your service provider for not having a place for you. So that's really the reason that it all happens. It just happens to work out that sometimes an entertaining story comes along for the ride. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm just having a look here back at the chat. Non-tow truck related question from earlier. Isn't the ACT federal police jurisdiction? It's interesting. The ACT is federal police jurisdiction, because ACT policing is part of the federal police. I had that discussion with them, and I said, shouldn't this be going somewhere else to investigate? And they said, no, we've got it. And they didn't think it was, something that needed any additional investigation.
So I've got something that's been burning on my mind since you brought up the topic of having drones actually shot out of the sky. Besides the damage, the monetary damage to the drone, it's going to come out of the sky, right?
Yes.
Is that not going to fall on somebody's property, or, goodness forbid, fall on a person?
Yes.
So when we're talking about bodily injury, when we're talking about possibly fatalities, it just sounds like a really bad idea all the way around. It would seem to me that somebody needs to look into.
Yeah. This is not a small little home DIY drone. This was a large piece of apparatus. Sure. And it's definitely going to cause some damage to anyone who's below. But having said that, it was in a rural area on a street. By the way, the other funny connection or two, number one, it's a conspiracy. NASA is involved because this street is actually called Apollo Road that leads to where the former Honeysuckle Creek NASA space tracking station was that used to track the Apollo mission. So there's a conspiracy. NASA must have shot it down, maybe?
Clearly. They were going to find out we didn't really land on the moon.
Yeah. But other interesting things that I did quite a detailed investigation into this. I spoke to a number of residents who didn't want to be quoted on air. But I will say that it is known that there are some, how shall we say, gun-toting rednecks in the region. I'll leave it at that.
Greg, you've been to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Feels like home to you, hey. Anyway, let's have a look. Any other questions? G Toga, do you have a favorite video or event from Rebecca G?
Do I have a favorite video or event? Gosh, it's probably one that we revisited either last week or the week before. And it was a video about the Mad Hatter. It's a guy that showed up in costume as the Mad Hatter. I'm assuming that the gal he had with him was Alice. Anyhow, they showed up in this Pontiac G8, which you guys know as a Holden Commodore. And it was just a very, very strange thing. A lot of times I've got to kind of work to make a story out of what's going on and try to imagine what these characters are. These guys show up in full makeup and costume, and
they're mad as a hatter.
They were yes, and they were really compelling to watch too.
Yeah. One thing I'll just say for those who are not regulars of your channel, the videos that you have, I'll ask your guests to imagine what a tinkle timer might be. So let's just say go and watch some of Chris's videos. You might want to even search for the tinkle timer. But just imagine if you've got two people and they're tinkling and which one's going to tinkle the longest. I'll leave that to your imagination.
Somebody has to be a winner.
Somebody has to be a winner. Couple more questions. XC Rost was born in Texas. He's having a laugh.
Excellent.
Ice Spike. Yeah, just a quick side topic. Have a look in the chat and vote for Ice Spike. He's got a link there in that road thing there. There's a podcast competition. He's a great guy. The Great Corn Hollow. That was hilarious. By the way, we've never been to the moon. Yeah. Look, there's lots of questions there, and we'll leave the chat there for the moment. Chris, if you want to stick around in the chat and say hello to a few people, that'd be really cool.
You bet.
But thank you for being our guest,
guys. Thanks for having me. You got a great channel. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we like to have fun.
Excellent.
See you another time.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Chris. Bye-bye.
See you, Chris.
So, like I said, John, it was a little bit unusual today, a non-drone related guest. But like I said, we've got some indirect server connections sitting in his data center there. So
lots of our friends are YouTubers in terms of just using their aerial footage on YouTube. It's
absolutely
part of the whole story, developing an audience and what makes your channel. I saw a great comedian the other night saying, he was just addicted to YouTube channels where some guy says, here's a YouTube guys that going to show you how to get the last bit of toothpaste out of your tube. Stick around, I'll show you how, and lots of DIY, and some of them are great. You learn some fantastic things on them. They really are. And other things, people are going, oh, look, just get another tube.
There's another one that I actually watch, a guy by the name of, I think it's Steve Hofstetter. And he is a famous comedian who's famous for dealing with hecklers. And go and search that one as well.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, just a couple of things, some more mail. I received 2 other letters this week. Wayne wrote to us about 2 topics. Firstly, he shared the link about the Canberra drone that we've already talked about. That's already on our radar. Thanks for sending that. He also shared information that again, Canberra related, the ACT government is conducting an inquiry into drone delivery systems in the ACT. So this is independent of the trial. This is an inquiry because some people weren't happy. But I guess we know how that inquiry will go, considering they're shooting down drones around the region.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on from that, our last segment of the day today, and please do continue to chat to Chris in the background while we play this, but we get to the part of our show that many of our regulars say is their favourite. We're off to see The Wizard of Oz as we explore Australia.
Yes.
This first video here is from Nathan Shea. This was shot in Terrigal on the Central Coast in Australia. This was also filmed with a DJI Mavic Pro. This kind of speaks for itself. It's just beautiful seaside footage. Beautiful from above, beautiful from the side, looking at some of the properties there. And I know Chris is still sitting in the background and watching on the sidelines. I just say to Chris, this is why you've got to come to Australia, right? Just watch this stuff. Let me open his mic again. Why not? There we go.
Yeah, this is absolutely gorgeous. And someday I'd really like to come be your guest.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here. The other person that we're hoping to have come to Australia is Ken Heron. The second video, just briefly, is Droning on Australia is the channel, Mount Coonawarrin. Coonawarrin. Anyway, I can't say it any better than that. Second video is in the Sunshine Coast.
That's just gorgeous.
And as I was talking, I'm just questioning if we moved into the next one. By the way, just a quick side topic. Thank you to Greg Hilton, as always. Greg does a great job putting together a lot of this footage for us and editing it together. Pardon me, I'm just in the background having a look at some of the chat comments, but some beautiful footage there as well. And the next one, this one's actually a complicated one. We've got multiple pieces of footage edited together here. This one's by D-Drab Drones, and he calls this Abandoned 4, Canberra, Goulburn and Batlow. The first section of footage is from Mittagong Maltings, one of the best sites for droning, and on the day he visited he saw at least 3 other droners in the area. Then he moves on to the Kenmore Asylum, privately owned and heritage listed, which means no entry without permission, but it is accessible during History Week. And I'm really impressed by the fact that he goes to the trouble of talking about how to get permission to enter some of these abandoned places to go and film them. But this location, 7 deaths at Kenmore, began to plague the complex early in its history and is now believed to be haunted. Then after that, we move into the former CSIRO headquarters, currently being demolished to make way for new apartment blocks. If you've got the opportunity to drone this site, be aware that it's likely to be occupied by workmen, and that there's a school next to the complex. Again, really good safety information about what he's doing when he's going and droning these abandoned locations. But he recommends to visit on a Sunday or a public holiday. And then after that, we move into the Mountain Maid Cannery, which closed in 2002. Situated in Batlow, the cannery stands defiant to the elements. The area around the complex is populated, so care must be taken. Area's fenced off, however. He spooked a large group of teenage boys in the complex on the day that he was flying, so there must be a hole in the fence somewhere. And the final one that he's got in his section there is the Alexander and Albemarle buildings. After being abandoned for 8 years, these buildings in Woden are currently being renovated and repurposed. The buildings featured heavily in daredevil Instagram posts in the last 5 years and became a concern to locals. He says, I would not recommend droning there at all, as it is a built-up area and there may be workmen around. He shot it the day before Christmas, early in the morning. Again, really, really good kind of thinking about someone who's droning abandoned properties as to the safety factors. And his final one, the St John's Orphanage, amazing place to drone. However, be aware of houses along the fence line on the far side of the orphanage. Sadly, it suffered fire damage on 2 separate occasions, easily accessible, and one of the more enjoyable sites to capture. And his final comment that he makes, this video would not have been made possible without the patience and support of my loving wife. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've got my wife sitting as the producer for the show, and I just wanted to say thank you to my better half.
You've got the world's best producer right there.
Of course. You can't get better.
In fact, I would double her pay.
Yeah, absolutely. Double.
He's really hoping to get lunch after this, that's for sure.
Okay, good timing. Bensley Media, Phillip Island from above. Phillip Island in Victoria, recorded with a Mavic 2 Pro, recorded in December 2018, but just published this week. Just seeing Todd Fox, he's on the Gold Coast right now. Todd's asking, how do you send footage to me? He's visiting Australia and some things to share. I'll put up at the end of the video my email address, but the quick version is upload@gregkunit.com. That'll be on. Actually, I can't put it on the screen today because the titling system is broken. The graphics is not working. So you can work out my name from the video description, upload@gregkunit.com. And our last video for today as part of Explore Australia. As I get back to my notes, this is from Fuzz Digital. It's a Mavic 2 zoom that was used to film this, and he was doing some test shots in the Pilbara, Western Australia, testing out the capabilities of his new Mavic 2 Zoom features, filming some of the lovely sunrises that the Pilbara region has to offer. He says, only my first few flights ever, so please be kind. But hey, tell you what, have a look at that right now. Just some fast motion through some of that across the water there. Looked absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so we've reached the end of the show, and Chris stayed in the background for a little bit longer. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. It's been a good
Chris,
show.
great to have you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
This is a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, we've had
I may
a lot
have to
of
get
fun.
a drone to patrol the back lot.
You know what?
The East Wing.
You know what? The tethered drone sitting permanently flying above your building with the ability to go to whichever part you want. It can stay up in the air all the time. That'd be a perfect solution.
I thought we had it going on with some pan tilt zoom cameras. Nah, boy, we got to go aerial.
Have you seen those cameras that they've actually got a box that you can mount on the roof or inside your property somewhere? It's a charging station, and you can launch the drone automatically from there, get it to go and do a patrol, and then come back and land itself back in the box and charge itself afterwards.
All right, I'm going to have an executive meeting with my chief financial officer on Monday.
Also known as your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've never seen more zeros, man, on a box like that.
All right, maybe we'll have to hit a couple more thousand subscribers in order to make that work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Help me out, fellas.
Yeah, everyone who's a regular on my channel, go check out Chris's channel. It is a lot of fun. It is seriously addictive. You can have some fun watching it. But anyway, that's all we've got time for. A couple of quick reminders. Number one, if you do want to send us footage, upload at gregkunit.com. Don't send the actual physical files. Don't put it in a Dropbox or something. Please just send a link to a streaming video. A lot easier to process. If you want to send us anything physical, like Chris Hope did with those coins, the address is 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania. And that would be really cool. If you've got questions or photos or videos, send them in during the week and we'll include them in next week's show. Any last comments for you, John?
Well, just don't forget again, we're filling up for Drone Camp later in the year in October. So go check out dronecamp.info. And obviously mostly for kids in Australia and high school age that want to come to Drone Camp, have a good time there, flying some fun machines. We'd love to have you. Dronecamp.info. And
correct me if I'm wrong, John, as part of the registration fee, what do you get?
You get a DJI Tello.
Right. So this is not just a camp where you learn stuff, you get a physical aircraft.
Yeah,
so
we use that one because you learn programming as well. You can do stack programming.
Absolutely. So that's all for today. It's been fun. It's been fun talking to Chris. It was crazy looking at the news about that Canberra incident. If you've got any other thoughts and comments, please leave them at the end of the video and we'll chat to you there. So that's all for now. See you next time. Bye-bye.
See you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.